Hi, my name is Karolina. I'm a designer, but sorry, I don't do Agile. 2 years ago, I joined Polydia, the software house owned by developers at that time. But today, I happily lead the team of 6 designers. Now we cooperate with nearly 40 developers, and we actually went through many design-related projects together. What's important, 3 years ago, this design appears at Polydia in parallel to Agile. We didn't realize how challenging change would that be at that time. I have to admit that this road was rough. We had many collisions, some traffic jams, a lot of blind alleys. But together we went through many new situations, and as we are human beings, we had to deal with new emotions, with new feelings. But that gave us this great piece of experience that I wanted to share with you today. So at the beginning of this cooperation, for many times I was in this situation when developer expected me to prepare graphics while I wasn't ready for that yet. I was doing something else in the project. In this situation, this developer, he gets impatient. He was bored of waiting for me for those designs, graphics, and I felt pressed. And what we all have to remember and know is that designer is not a person who only prepares graphics. Designer is a person who creates the whole product, the whole project, this whole scope. So designer is a person who researches, who defines, who creates, who conducts, and who designs. Researcher is a person who is this designer is a full stack designer. This is this person who leads the full stack process, and this design process goes from ideation to final product design, and this process includes this requirements need specification, product visioning, wireframing, researching, and somewhere at the end there is this graphical part of work. So what has happened here? Developer thought that the whole team is somewhere at the end of this process, while we were working on this at this beginning stage of the work. So what we all have to remember and we all have to know is this mutual understanding. We all need to know and respect each other's field of expertise, and we should understand the project stage. But there is another reason for this situation. We kicked off the project for developers and for designers at the same time. And now we know that developers should start before the development part is ongoing. And at the beginning of this process, developers work more as tech specialists. And this is when we take into consideration any agile diagram, we can easily see that to get into this cycle, we need to have user stories prepared. And to have user stories prepared, there is some huge part of design work that needs to be done before. So planning and synchronizing is really important for this cooperation. So we have to estimate project at this overall level before we kick the project off, and we have to plan the design outputs before we start the development work, and just to easily synchronize that. And there is another situation I experienced. So for a few times I had the situation when this already developed part of the application wasn't the same as I designed. And for me that was really disappointing. For developer that was actually surprising, but what is worse, he felt accused. And here's the thing. So my latest project was the startup project. That wasn't a huge project, but I had to work there on many parts of this whole project: application, landing page, the administration panel, and some onboarding stuff, blogs, etc. So me as a designer, I had to talk and communicate with many different people in this project, and the problem is when some part of this project overlap at some certain part of design work, for example, wireframing. So sometimes I wasn't even able to answer the question, for example, what should, I don't know, what's the logic for some part of this application, because I had to do some other things at that time. So what worked for us is this this design documentation that is present in the physical space, and we sometimes use it, this design documentation, in very creative ways. So here, for example, developers use that graphical screens to place the tickets directly on the screens, and after, so that was kind of visual tracking system. So when the certain screen was done, they just changed the ticket into the green, and that was really motivation. So it's in this, when it comes to the design, this documentation and this documenting is really, really important. We always need to keep those documents up to date. It's the designer's role to inform like the whole team about the changes, and but we have to be smart with that. It's not about like keeping the documents on the drive. We just need to have them visible for everyone. And the last situation, so that's the situation where developer is surprised that this design ticket doesn't move in the same rhythm as the developer's tickets. And yes, this developer is frustrated of expecting the designer to adjust to this board rules, and the designer he actually feels forced to do that. We have to, so what's about this? At the beginning of this design process, when we work on the ideation part, when we create the concept of the whole product, this is more process work. It's not, we cannot easily like split that into smaller tasks, like the one-day tasks. But as we get closer to this final product design, our work gets more task-oriented. So again, at the beginning, when we create this, for example, general flow PDF, it's huge. When we work on the like assets, we can easily like use board and cooperate with the developers. This is another example. We work differently in different projects. So this is in one project, that was this rule that this design sprint always had to be ahead of the development part, like the development sprint. So at this grooming meeting, PM reviewed, and the whole team reviewed the design work, and that was the PM's work, the PM's job to translate design into tickets. And what's important, designers didn't participate in this board thing. That worked perfectly. So it's really important to be flexible and to be tolerant, and we should respect everyone's needs. And in my opinion, we should use agile tools and methods accordingly to their role, because we all know that agile is a group of software development methods. And I'm a designer and I don't do agile, but I've learned how to adapt and how to benefit from those methods. And at Polydea, we've already learned that developers and designers work differently, but we build, at the end of the day, we build the same product. So, so we know that we are equally important because we're the team. Thank you.